So this chapter reveals one of David's greatest spiritual tests, a moment when pride leads to sin, but repentance brings mercy, okay? It's a story about trusting God's strength, not human numbers, and it ends with the sacred moment that points directly to the future temple of the Lord. The first part of this chapter covers Satan incites David to take a census. Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. David orders Joab and the commanders to count all the fighting men from Beersheba to Dan. He wants to know the size of his army, okay? Not to organize it, but to take pride in it. Counting the troops wasn't sinful in itself. The sin lay in David's motive, pride and self-reliance instead of faith in God's power, okay? The second part of the chapter covers Joab tries to warn him. Joab pleads, "May the Lord multiply his troops 100 times, but why should you bring guilt on Israel?" But David's word prevails and the census proceeds. Joab and his officers traveled throughout the land and returned after 9 months and 20 days. The total 1.1 million men in Israel, 470,000 in Judah. Joab doesn't count Levi or Benjamin because he knows this command angers God, okay? So even David's general could sense that the census was against God's will. Pride blinds even the faithful. The third part of this chapter covers David's guilt and confession. God is displeased with David's action and strikes Israel. David immediately realizes his sin. "I have sinned greatly by doing this. Now I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I have acted very foolishly. Yeah. Unlike Saul, David's greatness lies in his humility. He always turns back to God quickly when convicted. The fourth part of the chapter covers God's three choices of judgment. The prophet Gad brings David a message from God, okay? Choose one of three punishments. 3 years of famine, 3 months of fleeing before enemies, or 3 days of plague from the sword of the Lord. David replies, "I am in deep distress. Let me fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is very great. But do not let me fall into human hands." David chooses God's mercy over human cruelty, showing faith even in judgment, okay? So the fifth part of the chapter covers the plague and the angel of the Lord. The Lord sends a plague on Israel. 70,000 people die. The angel of the Lord stands over Jerusalem with a drawn sword to destroy it. But God says, "Enough, withdraw your hand." David sees the angel standing near the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. David and the elders fall face down in sackcloth. David cries, Was it not I who ordered the fighting men to be counted? These people are but sheep. Let your hand fall on me and my family." David's intercession reveals his shepherd's heart. Yeah, his shepherd's heart. He takes full responsibility for the people suffering. The sixth part of the chapter covers the altar of Ornan's threshing floor. The angel tells Gad to instruct David to build an altar on Ornan's threshing floor. David buys the site from Ornan for 600 shekels of gold and insists on paying full price, saying, "I will not take for the Lord what is yours, nor offer burnt offerings that cost me nothing." David offers burnt and peace offerings. God answers by fire from heaven on the altar, a sign of acceptance. The Lord commands the angel to sheath his sword, okay? The plague ends, mercy triumphs. The site becomes sacred, Mount Moriah, where Solomon's temple will later stand, okay? You can check that one out in 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 1. So, what are the key lessons from the first Chronicles chapter 21? The first lesson is pride blinds even the godly. David's strength became his snare, trusting his numbers instead of in God. Second lesson, repentance restores favor. David's quick confession and humility opens the door for mercy. Third lesson, true worship costs something. David refused to offer God something cheap. Real worship always involves sacrifice. Let's see, final lesson. No, it's not final lesson. God's mercy limits his judgment. Even in wrath, God remembers compassion. His goal is restoration, not destruction. And then the final lesson is God turns failure into foundation. The very site of judgment becomes the future temple where atonement will be made for generations. Okay. So, in summary, in the First Chronicles chapter 21, David's pride in taking a census leads to divine judgment, but his repentance brings mercy. God halts the plague and reveals the site where the temple will one day stand. This powerful story shows that even failure can become the ground for God's grace, okay?